Before we move into the approval of the agenda, I would just like to take this opportunity to welcome Victoria Brooks, our new CAO. This will be her first official council meeting this evening, and I just want to take this opportunity to welcome her aboard and steering the big ship, as they may say, and so on. And congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your endeavors with the municipality. My other little note before I again ask for the approval of the agenda, I received a letter the other day, and it's from the Municipal Development Officers Association of Nova Scotia. Dear Warden Anthony, per Roger Devine, I am writing you today to tell you of a recent achievement by one of your municipal employees, Roger Devine. Roger was recently certified as a development officer by the Municipal Development Officers Association of Nova Scotia. This certification requires years of hard work and is a reflection of Roger's dedication to both our association and to his vocation as a development officer with your municipality. On behalf of the MDOANS, I wish to congratulate Roger on his achievement and look forward to working with him as a fellow MDOANS member for years to come. So I just wanted to pass it on to my fellow councillors and to say congratulations to Roger on your achievement of this certification. On that note, you have the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor LeBlanc. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Item number 3, declaration of any conflict of interest. Does anybody, councillors, have any conflict? Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the minutes of April 17th special meeting, April 25th regular meeting, April 25th the in-camera meeting, May 8th the annual meeting minutes, excuse me, and May 8th the in-camera meeting minutes. Been moved by Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you very much. Item number 5 is the Warden's remarks. It's not a short report, but it's not a long report. Winter is gone, but it's still cold in the evenings. And I was telling Victoria earlier, I said, I was out mowing my lawn last evening, and when I come in the house, I was cold. It was cold out last evening. Winter may be gone, but it's still cold, so you still have to protect yourself in the early evenings. Anyway, the filming of the movie The Lighthouse is completed in Yarmouth. Talking today with Sean Clark. They expect to finish their shooting of the film in Burnside Industrial Park this week. So that movie will basically be completed within Nova Scotia by the end of the week. Derek has done a final inspection of the site of the Leif Erikson Walk and Park and has approved the remediational work that was done on site. But today, Greg, Lauren, and myself, along with Mr. Clark, he is the location manager, you're well aware, done a walkthrough, and we were satisfied with the area. Everything seemed to be very, very well done. Very satisfied with the type of work. Just a couple of little twigs that's got to be done, but there's no issue. So I believe within the next week or two, he'll be sending information through to Greg so that we can finalize everything in that respect. I want to thank Sean for everything that he has done. He was a man true to his words when he first met with us way back and said that everything would be put back in order. And Lauren, I guess you can attest to it. It was well done. Everything looked very, very good. But he did make, when we first got there, and he mentioned to us that the production of the movie had used 3,604 room nights in Yarmouth. He said, plus all the food, all of the materials for the production of the movie, and the list went on. So the economic benefits and spin-offs to the Yarmouth area was more than just the movie being shot. There was a lot of other things. I did at the end thank him on behalf of the municipality, because we never heard any bad comments from any of the production workers. Everything went very smooth out at the airport when they done the inside shoots out there and so on. Everything was very satisfactory, and we had no problems anywhere within the municipality. He did promise that when he comes back for visits and so on, he'll be in touch and so on with us. I will make the comment, and I forgot to bring the book. Here quite a while ago, we made a comment to him that there is other stories in Yarmouth County that might be well worth looking into. So he asked us, and this afternoon, Councillor Cushion presented him, or I shouldn't say presented, gave him a book to read pertaining to the Miss Alley. That was a tragic loss here in Southwest Nova here a few years ago. And he said he would take the book and read it, but that was no promises or anything like that. And he said he'd have a screenwriter look at it and so on. And there may be the possibility of a movie and something of this, like The Perfect Storm, etc., and so on. So, I mean, there is some opportunities. There is other opportunities. He said, don't make any changes to your airport and so on. We're always looking for airports in movies. So, down the road and so on. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. On May 2nd, the Fram, which was a cruise ship, was stationed off here of the Yarmouth Harbour, and it brought about 120 travel agents came ashore into Yarmouth. I was there to greet them, along with Jim McLeod from the town and Danny Muse from Argyle. It was very interesting. These people were from all over the States. Some were from Europe and so on. And they had a lot of questions and so on. Then they done walking tours within Yarmouth, the town of Yarmouth and so on. There was, I confirmed today, a bit of a travel study. They went down to the Acadian Village in Pubnico, and they went over to the lighthouse. It was a last minute thing that they done, which was beneficial. They were all, like I say, they were all travel agents. Okay, so they were here on a trip, and from that trip, and they left here and went to Halifax. They've already committed to 4 times next year. So that's a good thing, eh? That's a good thing. The NSFM, which used to be the UNSM, had their spring workshop, was held here in Yarmouth on the 10th to the 12th, with about 140 delegates from around the province. The topics that were discussed during the spring workshop was the Nova Scotia asset management, solid waste, EPRs, energy efficiency and climate change incentives in the Nova Scotia municipalities, the CAP program, and cannabis legalization and what it means for municipalities. Later in the month, Councillor Cushion and myself attended the YMCA's AGM. They're on May 15th. On May 16th, we as councillors met with our MP, Colin Fraser, to go over and discuss issues at this time and possible sources of funding. Some of the topics that we had discussed were pertaining to a meeting that we had early in or late in 2017. It pertained to the internet, the airport, ferry terminal, and Doppler radar. We gave him an update on Doppler radar because the municipality had a meeting here with ECCC here a few months ago, and we committed to carrying on with that once the lobster season is finished. So Councillor Cushion and myself, and I haven't asked Councillor Allen, but I know he's willing to involve himself in that committee, and we'll be setting up some meetings and so on with local organizations to see how we can move forward. The Canadian and Nova Scotia Offshore Petroleum Board met in Yarmouth yesterday at 3 at the Grand Hotel. Myself and Councillor Allen had gone to 2 previous meetings, one in Bridgewater and one in Shelburne. And at the one in Bridgewater, we kind of put it out to them that it would be nice if they could hold a meeting closer within our area so that a few more councillors and CAOs could have the opportunity to hear their presentation. So what was really good, really nice, I shouldn't say good, really nice, was that the chairman of the board was in attendance along with some of the board members, which is not usually what happens, but they brought along some of the board members. Also the CEO from the Nova Scotia Offshore Petroleum Board was there, along with some of their staff members. But it was really nice. In attendance were councillors from Lunenburg, from Lunenburg all the way up to our MLA, Gordon Wilson, from Digby County. There was quite a few CAOs there. Our CAO, Victoria, was there, one of her first meetings on her first day and so on, and I hope it was enlightening for her to have a good understanding of that industry and so on. There was a lot of good information was shared on BP, which is going to be drilling off of Nova Scotia in the very near future. There was a lot of information given on the dispersants that are used. They had a special speaker, a scientist who has done a lot of Lauren, yeah, he has done, his whole life has been dedicated to dispersants on oil spills. He has been in Australia. He has been down in the Gulf of Mexico when that one happened. He has been basically all over the world and so on, and he's very good. Dr. Lee, I think his name was, and he gave us a lot of information on dispersants and how they work and so on. And the dispersants have gone from what they used to have to a different style of dispersant, which isn't as toxic, but it still does the job. They are going to be doing some research and studies on oil toxicity to lobsters, which was kind of interesting for us because there was a lot of people volunteered to sample the lobsters and so on. I don't know. But it was a very good session. I think a lot of people got a lot of information out of it and so on. I had a nice discussion with both the chairman and the CEO and some of the staff members after the meeting was all over and everybody was gone. I had a real good discussion with them. The fire dispatch, which I guess a lot of people have been hearing about and so on since about the 1st of May when it kind of came out in the news, which this issue is the municipality of Yarmouth councillors have taken a serious look into and so on, and we realize that it is something that's very important to our volunteer fire departments. And we're trying very hard to work at bringing a solution to this, and Greg Shea has been working very diligently in the last month, many multiple meetings and so on, and we have arranged for a meeting tomorrow evening with the chiefs of the volunteer fire departments and staff, and you as councillors have all been invited, as you're well aware, and so on, for tomorrow night. At this time, I would conclude my report. If there's any questions, I'll entertain them. If not, go ahead, Councillor.
Just a comment, Mr. Warden, is yesterday with the meeting with the oil companies there about the offshore.
Yes.
I asked a question about the impact, around here, and I talked to the chairman after.
Yes.
And asked him, I said, what about here? We thought we were going to get something, and he said, you would have, if Shell had been permitted to the exploration where they wanted. But he said they were declined.
Yeah.
But he said they are still trying, and it could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no direct benefits to our area, but there's indirect benefits and so on, at long term and so on. And we'll wait and see. Yeah. 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 Okay, if there's nothing further, item number 6. Business arising from the minutes. Was there anything that? Hearing none. We'll move on to item number 7. Committee of Public Accounts and Finance, 7.1. Budget information from Service Nova Scotia and Municipal Relations. You have that in your package. And I just want to touch very lightly into that before we go into the approval of our operating budget and so on, just to give a highlight. For the general public, this is information that is sent out to every municipality, and it's different for each municipality in the respect of some of the grants and contributions. Our uniform assessment, the value within the municipality of the district, 696 billion 165. No, I'm sorry, not billion. 696 million 165,033 is our uniform assessment. Municipal contributions, education is a little over 2 million. Correction is a little over 100,000. Roads, we pay up to 78,000. Municipal grants, equalization, 128. Nova Scotia Power, 145. Farms, 20. Gas tax, 507,000. And that's it. But I just wanted for the general public, if you didn't know how much value in our assessment of all our assets or the municipal, 696 million. So on. Was there any questions, concerns? Hearing none, we'll move down to 7.2, presentation and approval of the operating budget for 2018-2019. Greg, you have the floor.
All right, so just we'll read in the operating budget for the year, the highlight numbers, and then we'll go down through the rates for the year for the fire departments, for property assessment and sewer. So I think you all have a package in front of you. If you want to follow, I'll start off with the revenue section. Revenues from, so in the tax section of our revenue side of our income statement, revenues budgeted for the total assessable properties for the year are $9,494,323. Revenue from special assessments is budgeted at $256,474. Business property, $220,826, and other taxes, $263,132. So total budgeted tax revenues for the year are $10,234,755. Other revenues projected to come in for the unit this year from grants in lieu are $30,400. Services to other governments is $485,850. Other revenue from own sources is budgeted at $795,078. Unconditional transfers from other governments is $150,628. Conditional transfers from other governments is $507,392, which is essentially the gas tax funds that were referred to earlier.
Yes.
And other miscellaneous transfers in are $100,000. So the total non-tax revenues budgeted are $2,069,348. And our overall total operational revenues for fiscal 18-19 are budgeted at $12,304,103. The expenditure side of the equation starts out with general government services. The legislative piece is $259,912. General administration is $1,101,842. Financial management is $47,000. Taxation is $291,113. Other general government services are $265,112. So total general government services budget is $1,964,979. On the protective side, we have protective services, RCMP, and corrections at $1,149,889. We have fire protection at $1,153,407. Emergency measures, $23,731. Other protective services are $331,201. Animal and pest control, $29,745. So the total for all protective services for 18-19 is budgeted at $2,687,973. Transportation services, road transport, which includes airport engineering and some other sidewalk and repairs and maintenance, is $547,169. Street lighting, $54,149. Our Public Works Department is budgeted at $400,080. So total transportation and Public Works is $1,001,398. In environmental health services, we have sewer collection and disposal at $1,139,111. Public health and welfare services, $115,539. Other environmental development services is $74,037. And industrial parks is $47,500. Other environmental development services is $333,209. Recreation is $796,850, and culture and heritage is $1,500. So total for culture, recreation, and culture is $798,350. In fiscal services, we have debt service charges of $124,384. Principal payments on long-term debt of $312,492. Transfers to reserves, $1,202,169. And conditional transfers to other governments and agencies, including appropriations to the school board, of $2,467,805. We have an extraordinary and miscellaneous items line of $25,000. So that rounds out total fiscal services to $4,131,850. That completes our expenditure side of our budget, which comes to $12,293,946. So that will leave us with a small budgeted surplus for the year of $10,157. So that's your operating budget for 18-19.
At this time, is there any questions for Greg on the presentation? Is there anything that I would like to make one comment, and going back a second here in the expenditure side, and it's on the environmental health services, and it's the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, lined items on the environmental side. That basically pertains to just like your landfill tipping fees, regional solid waste, the garbage collection, garbage miscellaneous, and your recycling processing and so on. And if you add those numbers up, you're just under you're just under, I can stop and think myself again, here, a little around $800,000. Solid waste within all of the municipalities within Nova Scotia is becoming one of your top lined items, just as an item in itself, the garbage collection and so on, and compared to like your transportation services and so on, do a comparison and so on. It has become a very very expensive item, and through regional chairs and through Divert Nova Scotia, we're working very diligently to try and reduce that cost to our residents through EPR and so on. And that was one of the seminars that was put on at UNSM. I had the opportunity to have that discussion with some of my fellow colleagues to make a presentation to the delegates that were there pertaining to EPR. We have had a lot of support across the province and so on. Hopefully in the, I won't say in the not too near distant future, hopefully some of those costs can be alleviated and so on, and we'll be able to do a lot better. But was there any further questions or anything? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Just like to draw some attention to the fire protection grouping of expenses, and would just like to thank all the volunteer fire departments and all the men and women that are out there protecting the municipality of District of Yarmouth residents, the assets that they own and so forth. And I can tell you our expense side would be considerably more without the volunteer efforts of our volunteer fire departments. So thanks to them for their help in keeping the expense low there and the fire protection high. So I'd just like to bring attention to that so that the public can know that the good work they do yields a lot of benefits. And we're going to talk a little bit about the dispatch issue later on, and certainly I know we're all as a council as supportive as we can be for that service and our volunteer fire departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anything further? If not, I have one last comment to make, and I believe Councillor Trevor Cunningham brought it up last year, was pertaining to streetlights. As Director of Finance just stated as he went through street lighting for the municipality of Yarmouth, 54,149. He can well remember here just a couple of years ago that line item was just around the $250,000 that we were paying. Now, as he did mention in the financial services, we do have the debt charge and so on the LEDs and so on, the principal and so on, but that will pay for itself in a very short period of time. And the 54 roughly will fluctuate only very little bit, but the tremendous savings both to the energy consumption and saving to the municipality residents is going to be tremendous in the long run. Is there anything further? Do I ask for a motion to, or wait right to the end? Okay, then in saying that, then I would look for, oh Lord, I'm sorry. Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just about to make a motion for the approval of the capital budget for 2018-2019 as presented by our...
No, 7.2, presentation approval of the operating budget.
Oh, sorry, the operating, not capital. Yes, my mistake. For the approval of the operating budget for 2018-2019 as presented by our CFO.
Been moved by Councillor Durkee. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. 7.2, presentation in a, no, 7.3, approval of the capital budget for 2018-2019. Go ahead.
Well, the capital budget is attached to your operating budget document. Yes. I hesitate to use that word budget. It's more of a plan. Yes. So we will read in the amounts that we have planned on some tangible capital asset expenditures we have hoped to do this year, if the stars all line up. The total plan is for $4,075,000 combined spend between the capital reserve fund and gas tax funds.
Is there any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Just, there is certainly, and again, we're going to vote on this as a whole, but just to let folks know that I won't be voting in favor of the capital plan, and I think everything's good in it, with the exception of the Public Works building. I've been on record as not supporting the Public Works building from the beginning. I think there are other priorities that municipal residents that I talked to would put first, or put ahead of that. The other thing is the construction of it is or the plan to move forward is not amenable for local contractors to be able to really participate. My understanding is to the fullest extent in the construction of the building. So for that reason, I will not be voting for the capital plan. Thank you.
Was there any discussion on anything else? Councillor Durkee.
Sorry, but I don't seem to have a copy of that in my.
It's on the very last.
Well, that's mine. Maybe you
No,
do.
it's not attached.
No, it's not. You have.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you have?
That's why I get extras.
I was looking through pages. Thank you.
Okay. You want a moment to go through it?
Please.
Please. Is there any questions from Deputy Warden or Councillor Durkee? Do you have any questions pertaining? Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
No, Mr. Chair, I have no questions pertaining, and one thing that I wish to point out, one thing that I'm very pleased to see is we're still working on rural broadband, and the plan is for $650,000 to go towards a project in cooperation with the REN and other pieces of the pie that hopefully are going to come our way to make sure that every person in the municipality district of Yarmouth has access to rural broadband, and hopefully along with that, cellular service. And that's one thing that I've been talking about since I first got here, and that's one thing I'll be talking about right until every last person in this municipality, or even drives through, is able to receive if they so wish to have it. But I'm certainly in support of the capital plan that's putting forward of us. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
And this may have been an oversight, but I see that the ferry terminal activity and Yarmouth International Airport are there on the plan listed in the regional priorities, but the Mariner Center upgrade's not listed. Is an addition potentially?
Yes. No.
Oversight, it should remain as a regional priority.
But there had been no dollar figure.
No, there's been no dollar figure. It's a notional item now so that we can remember it in our daily discussions and our planning exercises, but we certainly all agree it's still a regional priority.
If there's no further questions, I would entertain, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councillor Dirk.
Thank you. I just want to comment that I'm pleased to see that we are moving forward with some upgrades in our Hebron Business Park. It has been around for about 30 years, and I think in order for us to grow our economic development, that we need to move forward with making changes to that so that we can start attracting businesses to want to be into that park. And then, of course, once we do that, that will improve our tax base. So I'm very happy to see that moving forward.
Thank you. Was there any further discussion on the capital? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Do we need, you don't need a motion, you do need a motion to accept. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. After hearing the discussion around the table in regards to the capital budget for 2018-2019, I move that Council accepts the proposed capital budget for the years 2018-2019.
We have a mover, do we have a seconder? Been moved by John, seconded by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, and we'll record that, please. Seven point four, approval of the fire department's reports and the rates for 2018-2019. And those would be from the Carleton District Volunteer Fire Department, the Port Maitland Volunteer Fire Department, Lakes and District Volunteer Fire Department, Valley and District Volunteer Fire Department, the Kemptville District Volunteer Fire Department, Lake Vaughan, and the Yarmouth Fire Department. What is the wishes? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Item number 7.4-4 and item 7.4-7, the reports and rates for the Valley District Fire Department and the Yarmouth Fire Department are, I'm not able to open those.
Pardon me? You can just press your little red button and talk.
So the reports from those two fire departments were not received by this office, and they had been requested more than once.
We don't even have a written report, nothing. And so the reports. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
So with no reports, how can we approve a fire rate for Valley and District number 1 and the second one that isn't there, the Yarmouth Fire Department?
I think.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, there.
I'm more than willing to prepare to approve the fire reports and rates for the Carleton, Port Maitland, Lakes and District, Kemptville, and Lake Vaughan, but without any documentation, there's no way that I could do Valley and Districts or the Yarmouth Fire Department. I don't know if the rates are, if they've had a ratepayers meeting and those rates are changing, or what the story is. I'm not trying to be a stickler, but however, I don't know what I'd be approving, so therefore, would we be able to request that information and pass it at another meeting?
Good.
That's correct. We just didn't seem to have success in collecting a report from Valley, was it Valley and District? Right, so So during a time of budget processing, we had to make some assumptions, and we assumed that they would not change the rate, and we applied it to their assessment levels for this year. And we can decide whether to proceed with their rate or not if you like. On the town fire department, that is a more mechanical calculation that doesn't require a report for them really. That calculation is based on their actual fire costs from the previous year, which we do have, and we calculate our 30% based on that. And we plug that in and then we determine a rate that will cover those costs, and the rate remains unchanged this year from previous years,
Yes.
but that's how we do that one.
And thank you very much for that, Greg, because you did mention that at the Yarmouth Fire Department, that is more of a mechanical number that we put in there, and that rate is not changing. And you explained that to us in the in the in-camera portion of the meeting, but for some reason I didn't realize that Valley and District was not there. And of course,
I guess if I may, I'll direct my question to Ray. At this time, Valley and Districts wouldn't be able to go out and change their fire rate. They couldn't come in now, and
If they have a budget deficit and they need to raise their rates, I think they've missed the boat.
yes,
We've had to proceed with our fiscal business, and we've had to make
Yes.
some assumption. We've made more than one attempt to try to get the information from them. So my estimate would be to leave the rate unchanged, provide them with their dollars based on that rate times their assessment, and they're going to have to live with their oversight.
okay.
That would be my suggestion.
So what is the wishes of council at this time then? Do you wish to make the motion less those two, Deputy Warden? Go ahead,
yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that
approve the
that
fire.
council approves the fire department reports and rates for the Carlton District Fire Department, the Port Maitland Volunteer Fire Department, the Lakes and District Volunteer Fire Department, the Kempville District Fire Department, and Lake Vaughan Fire Department, and the Yarmouth Fire Department.
It's been moved by the Deputy Warden, John Cunningham, and seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee.
Please make note, Mr. Chair, that I did not approve the Valley and District Volunteer Fire Department. Council may, or another councilor
Yeah.
may accept that. But, just so you know that what you're voting on.
So we can, I guess, okay, the motion is on the floor, and it has been seconded, not to add any amendments or anything to it, but after this motion, whether it passes or not, we move forward that we put the Valley and District Volunteer Fire Department on a future meeting on an agenda item to follow up with them so that it can be, I'm sorry, go ahead, Greg.
I can suggest is that we can withhold our funding allocation to them until they respond with the rate reporting.
Okay,
And you may still want to, you may want to still proceed with the meeting as well, of course.
okay, so you wish to make a motion after this one passes, okay, along that line, that'll, okay. Okay, the motion on the floor, do you all understand? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, contrary minded, motion carried. Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will make a motion that council approve the Valley and District Fire Department rate from the previous year of 2017-2018 for this current year.
Yeah, he was saying defer any payment to him.
Oh, okay. And also to defer any payment of the fire rate to the fire department until such time we have a meeting and a report from the Valley and District Fire Department.
Okay.
Is that clear or not?
Do you have that, Liz? Okay. It's been moved by Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? I'm sorry. Go ahead,
I'm
Councillor Cunningham.
not sure if I'm quite clear on the motion. The motion stating that we're going to accept the rate from last year,
17, 18.
but if we're gonna accept that rate, then we're gonna move ahead with, my understanding would be we'd move ahead with normal course of business. It's not withholding
No,
anything.
no.
I think,
He
maybe
said
I'm a bit
that's
confused
what
by it.
we'll accept, but we'll defer until they bring in paperwork stating that's what they're content with.
Mr.
With the
Chairman, if I
2017.
may.
Go ahead.
So what will happen is this motion will allow us to issue the tax bills to the residents, but we will withhold the contribution to that department until they meet the reporting requirement.
He does it in a much better way. Thank you. Okay, it was, I gotta get this right now. It was moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you very much. 7.5, the approval of the sewer rates for 2018-2019. You have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? I'm not used to you down there.
I'm not used to me down here either. I wonder if we could just read in those fire rates for the record before we move on. We talked about approving them, but I'd like to just verbalize the actual rate per 100 of assessment for the 7 fire districts.
Okay.
Okay, so it's F1 is 11 cents, F2 is 14 cents, F3 is 16 cents, F4 is 17 cents, F5 is 15 cents, F6 is 8 cents, and F7 is 11 cents. Thanks.
Okay, you have that? Okay. Okay, then the 7.5, the approval of the sewer rates. You have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Cunningham?
Yes, I mean, my recommendation would be to have our CFO read the rates prior to our approval.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm too quick.
Yes, so let's get the rates on the table as well for sewer. The sewer rates remain unchanged. There's 4 sewer districts: Arcadia, Hebron, Dayton, Port Maitland, and South Ohio. And the rates all remain unchanged at $82.16 per quarter per unit, or the equivalent of $328.65 per unit per year.
Go ahead, councillor.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the adoption of the rates as read.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Seconded, moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Durkee. Was there any further discussion? No discussion from the right side here, eh, Tal? Got a very quiet bunch over here. You've all heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. And item 7.6, the approval of the residential and commercial rate for 2018-2019.
The rates set for this year for 2018 and 19, the commercial and the the residential and the resource rate is set at $1.17 per 100 of assessment, and the commercial rate is at $2.16 per 100 of assessment.
Okay, you've heard the rates. What is the wishes of council? I need a motion to accept, or is there any discussion from council? Go ahead,
I
councillor.
will move that we approve the rates as read. And I guess while I've got the mic, I'll make a few comments. We are embarking on series of capital projects. We've got the Arcadia sidewalk coming up, which is a good project, a replacement for that. We've got the engineering and ultimately the capital cost of the Milo project, which is I think a flagship project for the municipality of Yarmouth. We've got we've got some of those big joint council capital requirements in the Mariner Center, the ferry terminal, and also the airport, which will be coming. They're not on the books in the capital for this year, but it's in conversation with staff and council. It was advised and also accepted in rational that we do raise the rate just by a penny, per $100 of assessment. So it's small, but certainly we respect the taxpayers. The taxpayers' right to have low taxes, but again, there is value for the money moving forward with all these capital projects, and they are good projects. They're projects that we believe, in conversation with residents, that they'll enjoy and will move the municipality forward economically, recreationally, and for safety. So there are lots of things that we're going to be doing as a council. I think they're proactive moves. So for that reason, I'm okay with raising the rate that 1 cent. But again, we had lots of debate about it, and probably the right thing to do with that small increase. But again, it was thought about long and hard. So with that, I'll move the adoption of those rates as read.
Been moved by Councillor T. Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. I would like to make a couple of comments to the public and to my fellow councillors, but as fellow councillors, you sat through a lot of the budget meetings, through the grant requests and so on, proposals and so on. So you already have a good idea on a lot of this information that I'm going to present to you. The operating budget for the municipality for the fiscal year 2018-2019 has come in at $12,293,946, as Greg has already stated in the presentation. Or what did I say? 12,000? Let me turn my glasses around the other way. Oh yes, I can see. I kind of like my figure. I don't know about you guys, but 12,293,946. Our capital investment plan could potentially see investments this year up to $3,500,000. Council has decided that the tax rate per $100 of assessment on both residential and resource will be set this year at $1.17. The commercial rate will be set at $2.16. The sewer rates remain the same, as do the fire rates for each of the 7 fire districts, as Director of Finance has already stated. I just want to reiterate that is what we as councillors had sat in our budget meetings and our discussions and so on, which, as Councillor Cunningham has already stated, we worked very diligently at, and we weren't always on the same page, but we worked together to bring it forward. But I have a few comments. The demands on the municipalities for both delivery of service and investment in physical infrastructure, whether it be new buildings or improvements to existing, are growing. The municipality is in a strong, stable financial position, and we are determined to maintain that position on behalf of our residents. Again, you had that discussion and so on. We have to move forward. There's a lot of things happening within the province of Nova Scotia. Asset management and so on is becoming more relevant out there. It is more on the demand side now to make existing buildings that were built years ago that are not, I'll say, wheelchair accessible, have elevators and so on, are now something that municipal units have to look at and make improvements to their facility. Approximately 60% of our operating budget is driven by forces beyond our control, including other levels of government, other public sector agencies and service providers, and other organizations, boards, and commissions that we are party to. Nevertheless, Some of the incentives that council has set as priorities for the coming year include investments in rural internet. As the deputy warden has stated, he is going to make sure that everybody in the municipality, along with all of us as fellow councillors, we have had a lot of discussions on the internet, and we know that it is something, if you want economic development, even in your rural areas, one of the questions that's always asked is, what is your internet service, and so on. We've had a lot of discussion about the education and so on, and that young people go home and they've been told to look it up on the internet, and they don't have internet. It isn't they can't afford it. It's just that it isn't available to them. Expansion and our development, our Hebron Industrial Park, as Councillor Durkee has stated, the importance and so on. They say in the field of dreams, build it and they will come. I think we have taken the appropriate steps on doing that with some investment this year in the park and so on, and hopefully we'll see some of our the advantages of doing that. So kudos to the municipality on that. The ferry terminal is, we have discussed and so on, is one of our priorities and so on, and we'll go forward from there and see what happens. Sidewalks, the repairs and renewal of sidewalks. Some of the sidewalks we have been in for an extended period of time, and they always need some type of maintenance. And that maintenance isn't snow removal and so on and salting. It is just the upkeep of the sidewalk as they deteriorate and so on, the repairs of the cement and or the asphalt. As we well realize, there is no more allowance of asphalt curbing. If you have a bad asphalt curbing now, has to be replaced. It has to be replaced with concrete. They will not accept asphalt curbing any longer. These are just some of the highlights of Council's capital investment activities planned for this upcoming year. You can see that they are big ticket items and require sizable investment. One of the most important, as though none of the others aren't important, but one of the most important, and we've had this presentation, and you as councillors have always been very supportive of this one. The municipality will continue to support the position of a senior safety coordinator. We will continue also to invest in the Cape for Sioux property, as we well realize one of our priorities is doing some major renovations over there again this year. The region, which is the Cape for Sioux property, as we're well aware, is a regional tourism icon. We continue to support the 2 medical clinics in the community that are jointly owned with our 2 partners. We are investing in tourism through YASTA and in economic development through the RENs. I am also pleased to report, as you're well aware, because I can remember sitting through the meeting with my fellow councillors and you guys, and it wasn't an easy one, but you done it with due diligence and you were very supportive. I am pleased to report that council this year has provided over $138,000 in grant funding to more than 45 local organizations and groups that deliver a broad range of value, support, and services to all of us in our communities. And we well realize what those are, and 99.9% of them are all volunteers. So the volunteer service, or the volunteers that do this, deserve some recognition, and as I believe Councillor Cunningham has already stated to the volunteer fire departments, they are one of the services. But to all the other organizations that are out there supplying some type of a service to the community, whether it's music nights, whether it's days of having refreshments and so on for our seniors to go to. I think it's very, very important. So we supported up to $138,000, which is a bit of an increase and so on. But I think through the work and the diligence that you folks put in to the discussion and so on, and looking at them, I commend you on that effort and so on. You've done an excellent job. A new program that we're also looking at this year and available to our residents is the Water Supply Upgrade Lending Program. Born from the recent drought conditions that have left some homes in some areas without a domestic water supply, It is designed to assist those in need with affordable resources to help them reestablish this important necessity. As I've stated before, you can wear the same pair of pants for quite a few days, but you can't go without water for very long. And it is one of the necessities that we need, and I think that was a good program. And I know, again, we had a lot of discussion on those. Following along from our successful investment in wind energy generation at the Wellington Wind Energy Project, Council hopes during this fiscal year to introduce to our residents a PACE program, which in a nutshell makes affordable funding available to municipal homeowners for improvements to their properties that will reduce energy consumption, reduce heating costs, improving the insulation factor of their properties, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Another incentive that Council is excited about is the creation of a bylaw related to the establishment of commercial development districts. The idea here is to provide incentives through property tax relief for new commercial development in designated areas within the municipality. Commercial operators, we value you and watch in the near future for this incentive. These are only some of the activities that the municipality is presently engaged with or has plans to initiate in this fiscal year and in years to come. We have an aggressive to-do list. It is a busy time for our municipality, and we will continue to do our best to represent your interests, deliver the services you expect, make the municipality of Yarmouth a great place to live and work, and keep our financial position strong and stable. And I just wanted to give you that brief update. It's both to you, what you already realize a lot of those things because you've sat through the meetings and so on, but to our residents, that is some of the things that we're trying to work on, and hopefully in the very near future we can start and bring some of those to premonition. Item number 8. 8.1, the April Development Report. You have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to accept the April Development Report as presented.
Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. 8.2, Doppler radar. I gave you a brief report in my report and so on, but the municipality will be working in the, I'll say we'll start probably in the middle of June once the industry is, the lobster industry is done or finished for the season, and we'll be moving forward from there. And as I stated also, we mentioned that to our MP Colin when he was in here this past week. So my pen is running out of ink. 8.3, loss of tax exemption. Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to bring this to the attention of councillors who weren't able to attend the NSM conference. It was brought to our attention that the federal government is planning to do away with the present tax exemption to councillors. And this has a great implication for those who work full-time already and have councillor responsibilities, because what will happen is that we'll put them all in, or not all of them, may put some people in higher tax brackets, which means, of course, a greater tax amount will be deducted. It also would have an impact to younger members, to have younger members join in into politics, and it has future implications for all municipalities. So what I'd like to do is suggest that we bring this to our next committee of the whole meeting for discussion to support. We should be supporting the NSFM and FCM who are planning to lobby on our behalf of councillors across the country, because depending on how councillors are paid across the country, this could have an impact on the amount that they make.
Was there any discussion on that, other than the councillor has asked that this is moved to your committee of the whole next month for discussion? This was brought forward at the NSFM Rural Caucus meetings. It was also brought forward both for the regions and for the town caucus meetings and so on. This is something that is just being brought forward, and the federal government is looking at implementing it in 2019. So I think all we have to do is give direction to staff to just put it on the agenda if there's no objections from councillors. Okay, we'll have that added to the committee of the whole next
Thank
month. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, councillor.
When you add that, is it possible to attach some of the documents that FCM circulated around the issue? Yeah,
There'd
that would
be
be
some
helpful.
out there.
Please.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Oh, I gotta put my glasses back on here. 8.4 Code of Conduct Workshop Report. Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you. On April 19th, Warden Anthony, Councillor Cushing, and I attended a Code of Conduct workshop in Truro. And the reason for having this is the NSFM, it's going to take me a while to get used to that new acronym. Have heard that there are concerns from around the province of issues that have happened in the past involving councillors. So the FSNM Board of Directors want to see movement on this issue. As it turns out, there have been a number of code of conducts, legislation passed in other municipalities, and Nova Scotia doesn't have that. So what they're referring to basically is the fact that in the past, we know there have been some issues about transparency and spending of money. And of course, there's a new legislation on that where all that information is recorded. And so what it comes down to is, what if behavior is inappropriate? What if someone is, spending inappropriately? What is done? What consequences are there for their actions? And at present, there really hasn't been much consequence. And so there's discussion by NSFM of possibly looking into having an integrity officer to oversee issues as they occur. In addition, there was quite a discussion that was held on about bullying, racist comments, disrespectful comments among councils, between councils and staff. And again, we have a lack of who do councillors go to discuss issues that may arise. And again, it was brought up that they're looking into having an integrity, officer, so that people have a place to go to when they feel they've been treated inappropriately. It was interesting to hear how many different thoughts that people had on this issue. There are a lot of people who contributed to this discussion, and Councillor Cushing or the Warden, if you have anything you want to add to that. I just thought that it would be important for everybody to know that this is something that's being considered and thought about much more now than it has been in the past.
No, I think you gave a good report. What surprised me, and I shouldn't say surprised me, was that there was a large turnout.
Very large turnout.
But go ahead, Councillor Cushing.
Yes, I believe, not to get too deep into this right yet, but I think our municipality is moving ahead with trying to rectify some past problems and present problems of in that code of conduct and others. So I think we're moving in the right direction ourselves. So it was very enlightening to hear some comments from around the province. So, but I'm kind of focused on our municipality right now to see if we get ourselves in a good working order, and that word transparency is well demonstrated. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Appreciate it. 8.5 fire dispatch, as I said in my report, that we're going to be meeting tomorrow evening with the fire chiefs and hopefully we can start putting, I won't say closure, but working on a solution to the issue and so on. Go from there. Item number 9 is reports. Your committee reports, you have that. Was there any questions and so on? Audit committee, there wasn't any meeting. Bylaw and policy review, you're having that tomorrow at noon, I believe, Councillor. District planning, Councillor Cushing, there hasn't been no meetings? Yeah? Right? Yeah. Yeah. Emergency measures, we haven't had a meeting since our last one. Occupational Health and Safety Committee, Heritage Advisory, Planning Advisory, I believe, Councillor Cunningham, there has been no meeting, or the meeting was cancelled, was there not? But there has been no, okay. Go ahead.
We do have a couple of agenda items that were on the docket, but they ain't ready. One of them that was brought forward to my attention, I believe is from you, Mr. Warden, was in regards to tiny homes and our bylaws and stuff. And I was speaking to Roger about that, and he does have a presentation to make available to the Planning Advisory Committee when we meet next.
Yes.
Also, the other one was the subdivision bylaw. We're currently waiting from our engineering firm to get some reports on possible updates that we're going to be making to those, and we should be moving forward on those hopefully this summer sometime. Those items at this time are not pressing, so I did not find it prudent to call a meeting.
Okay. Where am I at here? Yarmouth County Police, we haven't had one since our last meeting, which was a few months ago. Yarmouth Recreation, haven't met, so on. The other reports, Friends of the Yarmouth Light, Joint Green Energy Committee, they haven't had any meetings. The Mariners Center Management Board, that was in your package, I believe, and so on. The Zamboni has arrived, and they found that it has already been very beneficial and so on. With everything changes very fast in today's society, and some of the improvements on that have been beneficial already and so on. Staff had to take training in order to use the new piece of equipment and so on. So they're moving forward and so on in that. Go ahead, Councillor Cushing.
I wasn't prepared to say anything about this, but it's amazing to watch that the new Zamboni with the self-leveling instruments on it that reduce the amount of ice they're taking off at a time and keeping it more level, so there's no manual cranking and whatnot. It's in the reduction of the snow, which is actually water. Yeah. So in the long run, it's gonna be probably cost effective for them for sure. Yeah. But it was quite a machine.
Yes.
Quite a machine.
It was. Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve, I don't believe there hasn't been any meeting, but here on the 16th down in Queens, they had a plaque unveiling to the firefighters and to all the service providers pertaining to the big forest fire they had. And I had been invited to go down, but couldn't make it down there and get back to some of my other meetings, so I did call and talk with Mr. Drysdale. Thought what they were doing was a great thing and so on. This is he told me very politely, he said you'd have to come very early if you wanted to get very close, because they had very little parking, because it was just going to be, it's just out, it's not in an area that there's parking, it's just alongside the road where one of the fire areas were and so on. But that day they were doing a day long of tree planting and so on. So, but I did call and told them that I wished them well, thought it was a great idea and so on, moving forward with that. YASTA, I don't know if there's been any meetings and so on with that respect. Go ahead, Councillor. No, you're on.
The last two meetings were postponed because there was no quorum. But I was talking to Neil and Charles, and they're working just for the tourist season, and with the ferry, and everything is going good.
Yeah.
They had interviews to hire some students for the summer, and that went well.
Yes, yes.
So that's about all I can say right now.
Waste check, you had that in your package and so on. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize. Go ahead, Counselor. You want to move your mic a little closer to you, please? Or
Yes, I will. I won't say who moved it, but anyway, we'll leave that alone. But I just want to back up to the Western Counties Regional Library. I'm not on that board, but however, I've noticed that they're having their Adopt a Book fundraiser.
yes.
And I actually, and it's they do it every 2 years, in my understanding. And I actually went in and adopted 2 books for one for my grandsons and one for my granddaughters, right? And in talking to Ian there, it's quite an effort that they go through. So I like to see fellow councillors go there and support that very important aspect.
Yes.
I'm saying I'm not on the committee, but I went in there to see what it was all about, and it's very interesting. I'd like to see some more support that happen.
So, I know somebody had made a comment pertaining to the Adopt a Book, saying, well, who goes in and uses books anymore? Everything is on the internet and so on. And as the Deputy Warden has stated, hopefully eventually everybody will have the internet and have high-speed internet and so on. But there is still a very large group of people that still read books and so on. And if, libraries, there is libraries all over Nova Scotia. So, I mean, there is still people, and in saying that, Councillor, funny thing, today you gave Sean Clark a book and so on. I'm quite sure you'll get it back and so on. And but no, I should say that loan. Well, there you go. You were a library, over at the Cape. Yes, so on. Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission. We have a meeting Monday night, I believe, and so on. Moving forward on a few incentives there and so on. The Yarmouth Town and County Crime Prevention Association, I don't believe there's anything. Yarmouth Waterfront Development Authority, I don't know. No. Okay. And this one I'm not sure of. Item number 12, Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Board Incentives Report. Okay. I'm sorry. It is in the package here. I seen it in the package, but I have to apologize. I haven't opened it and so on. I don't know if there was anything that should be mentioned. I don't think. If not, there was no, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
Again, I see the cannabis legislation that was talked about, and it's in that report sort of thing, right? So, but I just want to give our council just a quick update on that part. As you're aware, we've been working on a community action plan. We've made a presentation to this council, to the Town of Yarmouth Council, and to the municipality of Argyle. I spoke a bit about it at the FNSM, and then also Councillor Cleary from Halifax, they're doing the same thing. So now I've made the connection with Councillor Cleary and our author Larry Phillips to talk to each other, share information, and to proceed. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and I got to say, I believe we are leaders, because there's only 2 municipalities that were working on this, and we were one of them, and Halifax was the other. And at our bylaws meeting tomorrow, our author Larry Phillips will be in just to give us an update on what I just talked about, and also how we proceed from here, sort of thing, right? And we've also got to have we're getting our local I don't know what the proper word for it. Sergeant Perry is being involved too, right? He won't be there tomorrow, but he has the working document also. So just wanted to give a brief update on that, so.
Well, that is something that is being discussed, not just within municipalities, not just within the province of Nova Scotia, but right across Canada. And what is kind of, I wouldn't say disappointing and so on, there's been no clear direction given to the provinces and or to municipalities, because we're not sure. Our municipality may have a bylaw or something that's a little different than a municipality in the valley and so on. So there's been no real clear definition given and so on. And so it's something we got to be working on. Go ahead.
And speaking of that, like I say, I'm concentrating on our 3 municipal units here.
Yeah.
And also we're sharing information with the Halifax, which is a big area. So I think ours is, I think we're leaders in the province, number 1. And number 2, I don't think there's bylaws all across Nova Scotia that probably don't do exactly the same. But what I wanted to bring up was the FCM coming up this next weekend. There's going to be another session on that. So unfortunately, our Arthur Larry won't be able to make it, but I'll be there and taking notes too. So we'll get a good feel from the across Canada municipalities, see what's going on with them. So we are striving forward with it. And so each one of this is another step forward.
Thank you very much. I guess the last thing is item number 10, in-camera recommendations, but there was no recommendations. But before we move into item number 11, I'd like to make a couple more comments. And I want to take this opportunity to say to Greg Shea, our Director of Finance, thank you very much for the job well done, not just on the presentation this evening, but through all of the meetings that you sat in with all of the information. And I call it your blue book, which you had here earlier. I was always impressed when we were sitting there and councillors were discussing some financial issues and so on. And it didn't matter. All we had to do was, well, such and such, this, that, and the other thing. And you could flip to your little blue book and you could go to a line item and tell us the costs, the pricing, and budgetary items and so on. So I want to say on behalf of my fellow councillors and so on, thank you very much for a job well done. I know you put a lot of time and effort, and I know you were doing a lot of other things at the same time. And all of the work you've done as the interim CAO, myself, as the warden, I appreciated all the time you gave me when I had to come in and talk to you. You always had a smile on your face. When you seen me come, you always had a smile. I appreciated that, because I don't even get that from my wife, eh? But no, on behalf of council and the residents of the municipality, thank you for a job well done. I appreciate it. So if there's no further business of council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. Tomorrow's meeting is by invite only for the fire departments. I know some people, yeah, 2. There's only going to be like the fire chief and the deputy fire chief possible, and so on. And we as fellow councillors and our staff, and so on, okay? So if anybody asks you, and so on. But on that note, I would entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no further business. Moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Gerard. Thank you very much.